Hello and welcome, I'm Tim and this is Tim B at Sea. And I got a little video of a assist job that we did. I'm trying to see if I can get that flicker out of there for you. Maybe that will work a little bit better. People like to see where we are in terms of the chart, and I'm working on getting you a permanent chart camera, hopefully in the future. Just working on that right now for future videos, but this is basically New York Harbor right here. The Statue of Liberty is over here, and Ellis Island, the Battery where the World Trade Center is up this way. This is the Hudson River, what we call the North River, and this is the East River. But anyway, this across here, this is the anchorage here. One anchorage, another anchorage is over here. This is the Kills, where you hear me talk about, we go into the Kills a lot. And in this particular time, one boat that's working with us is bringing in a fuel barge and bringing into a dock right over here. And you'll see, I think the video picks up right about in this area here where he's going and I'm coming up alongside him, and you'll see I put a line up on him, and then we bring him in, and this is a face dock where ships go. Sometimes big ATBs go there, and then he's going right here. And in the next video you'll see next week, we have to get, while the barge is here, we have to get and with a lot of wind and tide, we have to sneak through here. We call this the hole. Come in here and get inside here, which is going to be a really tricky video for next week. But in this one, we're going to assist this guy coming in here, and then he'll assist me on the next one. And so that's it. Okay, so here we are. We are just keeping pace with our boat that we're going to assist. And this is something that's not uncommon. Different companies have different things that happen. And this particular company, the boat that's pushing a barge is actually pushing a barge for the company that I work for. And they hire out sometimes, kind of makes sense for everybody to help each other out here. They don't do it out of the goodness of their heart, I'm sure. Maybe they do, I don't know, but I'm sure they're well compensated for it. But in any case, this particular boat has been vetted for this job and is bringing this tank barge over, a bunker barge, and going to bring it over to this terminal to get loaded. And by the way, in the introduction there, I made a mistake. I said that in the next video you'd see us going in to what we call the hole number 9. Actually, we went in there at night when it was really blowing, and the night before, and there was a bigger barge across the way from us, so it was even tighter. And that would have made it for a fantastic video because it was a very difficult job to do. Unfortunately, I don't even try to shoot at night anymore because you just can't see anything. There are cameras that pick that sort of stuff up, but they're well beyond the means of or beyond my means anyway, of attaining. Give you a little channel news. I am trying to improve things. I was saying earlier that I'm trying to have a dedicated chart plotter camera so that you guys, we might be able to do some multi-shot stuff in the future. We'll see how that works out. Like I say, it's not uncommon for me to try things and they don't work out, and then I have to try them again and that sort of stuff. And some people have asked for some 360 video, and I tried that a few years ago. In fact, I've bought 3 different 360 cameras, and they're very difficult to do. You don't just shoot them and then start editing them. There's a whole process of stitching them together and all this. And then once I do all this and I upload what would normally be a 4 or 5 gigabyte file, I have to upload like a 12 or 16 gigabyte file because it's 360. So they want you to upload all the stuff that you're not even seeing, the stuff that's normally in back of you. And when I did that years ago, now granted, I understand that time has gone by. Hopefully, people have learned things. But there was a lot of. Let me turn that radio down a little bit. Yeah, there we go. That ought to be a little bit better. Yeah, so what I was saying was that some people were having trouble utilizing the technology that I was working so hard to get out. Like they would, spend the time looking at their. They say, "Oh, nice video," but I'm just looking at the deck. They didn't realize they could move their view around. So I probably won't be using it in a full 360 mode like that. But my plan right now is to let the camera run, and then when I go back to look at it, instead of telling you guys, "Oh yeah, if you see behind us," I'll be able to just rotate the view of the camera back there. So that hopefully that'll work. But anyway, you guys don't want to hear about that, about future stuff. You want to hear about stuff right now. So as you can see, it's getting towards the third week in November. Guy's coming along. It's early in the morning. Coming up to this guy, and right now I'm working my way up there, and he's getting a deckhand out on deck. Deckhand's going to probably get a heaving line. My deckhand is out on the bow, and he's getting a line all ready to go. And so once I get in position, you can see Cameron just went by the camera right there. So once I get to where I want to be, then I start moving over. And this isn't as big a deal as it is like when you're running a pilot boat or you're doing an assist job on a ship. When you have something that's a deep draft, or like for example, if this barge was loaded, or especially a 50 barge that might be loaded down to 18 or 20 feet or something like that, and if it's moving through the water doing like 12 knots, doing like 6, 7, 8 knots, and we're drawing 12, 14 feet, something like that. When the two vessels get close, the water between the two has to speed up to get by. And in doing that, it creates a suction and pulls you over. Luckily with this right here, this guy who's running the boat is doing a good job. He's just keeping this thing on a straight course, so I'm just easing over nice and easy. And the barge is probably only 3 foot in the water. There you can see I just made contact there. The guy on the barge is getting his heaving line, throws his heaving line down. And right now, my job is to stay in position, but I can't lean into him, because if I lean into him, then I'll start pushing the barge and the tug that I'm assisting, to the right or to the starboard side. So we put up a line here, and you can see the guy on the barge does a good job helping Cameron pull out the slack. We've got it going through what we call the staple. Some people call it the bullnose. That's that little round thing there in the bow. And we do that just so it holds us in position when we go forward or back. It's kind of better that way. But it's important for us not to get this thing really tight. And we do that for a couple reasons. One is the longer the line you have out, the more of a shock absorber it becomes. It has the ability to stretch without breaking. The shorter that is, the less ability you have. And obviously, if you're assisting somebody, if they really need you to give them a good back, you're going to give them a good back, and the line might have to stretch a little. If it doesn't, you'll break the line. And if you break the line when he really needs you, then bad things are going to happen. So that's one reason. Another reason is that we want enough slack in the line so that I can lay relatively flat alongside the barge. If I push the bow right over, and it would be angled at like the whole tug would be angled at like 45 degrees to get the bullnose right up by the cleat. And if I did that, because I'm drawing about 14 feet of water, I'd be a huge rudder holding, making resistance on this side. So by leaving just a little bit of slack, I can get flat on him, and the water will just run down my hull, and it's no big deal. All right, so he's making his approach. He's turning in here now, and right about now, he does something that's kind of a pretty cool move he did here. Uh, he had me start backing on one engine. And he's doing that because the wind is blowing from left to right, and it's a light barge. If you remember, the loaded barges are more affected by tide, and the light barges are more affected by wind. So the wind is blowing. You can see the flags up on the barge there, and so the barge wants to fall into the dock on the right hand side. So by him having me back on one engine, I'm not really, moving him so much as I'm adding weight to him so that the wind won't pull him down onto the dock too much. Now you can see that what we call the caisson straight ahead there. That's what we have to get by, but he's going high, and then once we get over there, he'll let the wind push him over, and so he's doing a great job here. He and I are talking on the radio. That's something that hopefully in the future you guys will. When my plan is, if I get this thing right with my dedicated camera for the chart plotter, hopefully it will be picking up some of the radio transmissions as well. But he and I are talking. He's watching everything coming in here. His deckhand will tell him when he can see down the face of the dock. And remember, the deckhand's going to be on the opposite side. I'm not on the dock side, obviously. I'm on the side that will be away from the dock, or the upwind side. So his deckhand will say, it's funny, so sometimes people will say, well, why does he need to tell you he can see down the face of the dock? Well, you got to remember, this guy is 350 feet in back, so he's a whole football field in back of where the turn needs to start. And so that's good. And also, I keep telling people this, but I think it's, it's common for you not to remember that the boats don't turn like a car. They don't turn from the bow. They turn more like a forklift that steers from the stern. So to get the bow to go to the left, or to go to the right, he needs the stern to go to the left. All right, so you can see there's our barge right ahead of us, and you can see how there's an oil boom in the water, and that's just a protective thing they put in there in case any oil gets in the water. We can contain it right there. And that's what they do when they boom these boats in, just to make sure that if there is ever a problem where we get any fuel in the water, we can mitigate the problem as much as we can, and at least contain it right there and get it all cleaned up. But anyway, you can see how that boom is pushed all the way across into this area that we call the hole, because the wind is blowing that boom right over. The captain that I was assisting asked me if I thought the boom would be a problem with me, and I told him that I didn't think it would, because I've been in here enough, and I knew that when he got in here, we'd be far enough away, and I could just put one engine in gear, even while I'm backing. I could put the other engine in gear, and that will give enough thrust to push the boom away, and that's what ultimately ended up happening. But now he's got it slowed down. We're moving in. I apologize for. There's really not a lot you can see in this video, but tried to get you some content anyway. Somebody was asking in the comments just a little while ago, hey, I want to see an assist job. Well, here you go. Here's one right here. And this is shot right from the 01 deck. So this is basically what you would see in the lower wheelhouse. Obviously, we don't go to the upper wheelhouse to do an assist job. And I think we've talked about this before, but people say, why do some tugboats have an upper wheelhouse? It's really has to do with the type of barges you move. For instance, when we move a 50 barge, when it's loaded, you could move it from the lower house. We don't do that, and that's not part of our company policy, but you could see out the window, and to be honest, 20 or 30 years ago, that was a common practice because not everybody had upper houses back then. The problem is that once you pump all that off, the barge raises up 18 to 20 feet up in the air, and you're just looking at a whole lot of steel. You're not looking at you're not looking where you have to look, you can't see anything. So you go in the upper wheelhouse, and then you're 50, 60 feet in the air, and you can see over the bow of the barge. All right, so now he's getting it slowed down. I'm coming around at a 90 to start pushing him in here. And as I do that, I know I think in this particular time I had Cameron, my deckhand, had him watching the stern to make sure that I was all okay on the boom. And he said we had plenty of room, and I knew that as soon as I started pushing all that wheel wash, we pushed that boom away, and we start moving everything over towards the dock, nice and slow, especially because I say moving towards the dock. Because the wind is blowing as hard as it is, I'm pretty sure he's been up against the dock as soon as we came in. He lightly got up there, and before he even had me come around. So he's been up on the dock the whole time. I'm just holding him in place so he doesn't. I can slow him down, going back and forth where he's trying to get. And we call it getting on spot. And so there's two things that are happening as the barge is getting here. The tugboat's deckhand is trying to get the first line, and he might need the barge to come ahead or go back to, because there might not be a deck, it might not be a line handler, a dockman there to catch the line. So he has to throw the line and kind of really be a cowboy and get the line right on the bit. But that's only one part of the job. In order to do that, I might have to go 20 feet ahead so he has a good shot at getting the line by himself. Once he gets that line, I might have to back down for the tankerman to be on the spot. And the reason why the tankerman wants to be on the spot is that some terminals have what they call chick stands, which are pipes, and they have a little bit of movement, but very little bit. They're mainly designed to move vertically, not move horizontally. So they really have to be on spot. There are other ones that have hoses, and in this case, I think this one has hoses, and we have a hose that we lower down to them. That's why they have the big cranes on the barge. The hoses I think they use are 8 or 9 inch hoses, and they're all encased in metal, because they have to hold all the high pressure. Anyway, it just makes things easier. So sometimes when you come up to a manifold, there might be, 12 or 18 different products, different pipes. And so you don't know whether there's 6 or 18 different pipes. You don't know which one the tankerman has to hook up to. But usually what they do is they put like a traffic cone. They leave that out the night before or the time before that we get in there so that we know what to aim for. And so right now, I think they're just trying to get into position. And that's all good. So unfortunately, this is kind of probably more and more boring stuff for you because I really don't have the best vantage point for you to see anything. There really isn't a whole lot to see. This particular terminal that we go to, sometimes if you time it right, you don't need any dockmen. Excuse me. You don't need any. You don't need an assist tug, but I think that they have our company requires an assist tug here, not because of the difficulty of getting to this particular dock. In other words, we wait either for the wind or the tide to push us on there, and we get up in there, and then we just lay on the dock and slide up and have the tide hold us to the dock. But the reason why we bring an assist tug is that sometimes, because this is such a massive terminal and they have so many different piers to go to, sometimes the dockmen are busy somewhere else. And so we might end up being here for an hour or hour and a half waiting for somebody to come take a line. Other times they're right there and it's nice and easy, but that's about how that works. But anyway, that's about it. That's about all you're going to see here. I think the video is going to roll for a little while. I'll keep letting it go, but I want to thank all you guys for watching. I really appreciate it. This is, like I say, not the most exciting video we've ever done. Hopefully there'll be more that will be better. The one I'm going to do after this one, so next week will be us. That when we came in, you saw that barge that was in there. We'll be getting that and backing it out. And so it won't be as dramatic as it was last night, but only because it's not night and the wind isn't blowing as bad as it was really blowing last night. But wind is still blowing pretty good today. But I can tell you that I had my hands full backing it out of there, but we got it done, and you'll see that next week. So hopefully you'll stick around for that. I think I mentioned before, only about 22% of you guys are subscribed. If you want to help out the channel or do us a solid, that would really help out. The channel does it gets out to a lot more viewers. The algorithm picks it up for more people that subscribe and like and comment, and I really appreciate that. That's kind of really cool. Want to special thanks to my patrons. If you'd like to be a patron, I'll put a link in the description below. Patrons get early access to videos and ad-free content. They also get private videos and more. And some patrons even come out sailing with us, so it's kind of cool too. Speaking of which, hey, SVP, SV Paquita, my other channel. If you haven't seen that, really, you could really help me out by checking that out. I'll put a link in the description. We've just brought it from Connecticut all the way down to Florida, and I could tell you that it was the worst trip I've ever done. It was awful. And so I've got some content that I have to put up on that. So maybe you check that out. And then we're going to be spending a whole bunch of time in the Bahamas. So come along, all kinds of projects doing over there and fun stuff over there. So if any of you are curious, my plan is, if God willing, if everything goes right, we're going to sail this boat next spring. Not the boat that I'm on here, but Paquita will be sailing her over to the Azores and then over to the Mediterranean next year. So if that's something that you have any interest in, we'd love to have you come overboard, over to our channel. And if you don't have any interest in it, still love to have you come over and subscribe anyway. I need some subscribers over there. Anyway, you guys, I think Thanksgiving's next week. So for the people that celebrate Thanksgiving, happy Thanksgiving. My favorite holiday of all holidays out there. And for the rest of you guys, I will see you guys shortly. Take care, be safe, and as always, I'll see you on the one. We're going to let this run out.